day, good dark, or good night if you're in the evening. I'm your host, as you very well know, Braggy, the son of Magnar, and I'm a Viking Scot. I'm a poet, I'm a warrior, and a teller of tales.
Jolly good.
And I'm here with my very good Viking friend,
Egil Thorsen. I'm a warrior, trader, sometimes storyteller and runecaster.
Now, you've already seen a few videos we've done on the historical context of the Dark Ages, but one thing so far we're not covered is bags. So today's videos is on about pouches, bags and chests in the age of the Vikings. And the fact we take it for granted, and bags are something we use every day, don't we? So,
Well, yeah.
So, you know, we'll just start off
Okay,
talking
so
Egil.
I'll pass them over, you talk about them. And here we go.
So the first bag we had is a shoulder bag, and this is a design on a Frankish shoulder bag.
Right.
You can get them half this size, smaller, or I like a size like this, and I've had this one for probably 15 to 20 years now. And although I never actually finished the corners of it, I've always liked it square like that. And it actually does need a bit of treatment to soften up the leather again. But this is a great bag to carry. And you can also, when you're on camp in the evening, get 3 bottles of wine in there if you so desire.
That's worth knowing.
So
Bit of G-wax as well.
this is you know, not your everyday bag. This will be somebody who's got a little bit more money.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the everyday sort of bag. And you could talk about sacks made out of linen sacks. These are always very useful.
Very nice. These, I suppose, you put coins or...
Yeah, coins or your small item you've got. A bit of fabric for you know, patches, because you wouldn't be able to carry some of them if you're on the march.
Yeah.
And of course these are all handmade items. So it's another type of bag, a little small sack.
Yeah.
And I've actually used to use that on my Civil War to keep my bacon in. That's another story. And then you have another very common design, which is the round pouch.
Yeah, I've seen those.
And this one's got silver in, look.
We're not going to drop it on the floor, are we?
No, so
I found one on the lawn.
I mean, one of the ways I use my pouches and my bags is to keep my stuff in and my equipment in. You know, it's just a Viking bracelet.
That's pretty sexy.
It is pretty sexy, yeah.
Thor's hammer.
I put the Thor's hammer myself beforehand. It had a dragon motif. So you generally would use your bags to keep your silverware in and your valuables. And I saw that.
It's worth a try.
As well, it's got a bead on because you know I'm posh, so I can afford to have a nice glass bead on a pouch. So you have round pouches like this, and then you go to your net stream. So this is a unfinished pouch for the Sutton Hoo style.
More like a purse, isn't it?
It is like a purse. This will hang around your waist here like this one.
That was because the Reenactment Society, who shall remain nameless, said they didn't have pouches, so that's why I've got little bags hanging instead of a pouch.
Yeah, well, I'm going to make you one of these.
Cheers. I have
you
one,
like one?
I don't know what I did with it.
And this actually needs to go back in some water to reform that, make it a bit better. So this is a typical Anglo-Saxon pouch made out of leather, and this is a veg tan leather.
It does look very similar to the purse lid at Sutton Hoo.
Well, of course the purse lid is very highly decorated. I won't mind one of them.
Well, it wouldn't. I mean, the guy was wealthy. But the interesting thing about it is, with the contents, there were 34 silver coins, Frankish coins.
Yeah.
Each one was different, and what my tutors thought it might be was each of those people were paying tribute to him.
Alright, so it wasn't a coin collector then.
Well, he was, but not in the sense you mean.
Yeah.
Not numismatically.
So, you know, so this is your typical Anglo-Saxon pouch. You hang it on your bolt, and that's unfinished. So we've got them. And then we get onto something a bit bigger. So here's another shoulder bag, which is another type of style. You've probably seen that on our videos. And this was the first one I made back in about 2003 or when it was. And this is actually our bag of hats. There's all hats in here. It's our hat bag.
Yeah, you keep anything.
And this is how I tend to store my kit. I try to store it authentically.
They may have even had a spare undershirt or a pair of spare shoes.
Yeah, so you would have carried your campaign equipment, maybe a bowl and a spoon. You might have a small eating knife in there.
Personal
you know,
objects, yeah.
Maybe even a little bit of salt if you got money to have salt in your food.
Yeah.
And you know, why don't you talk about veg tan leather?
Well, leather has been with us since the year dot, and once you've skinned your beast, they shave the hair off it, and it's soaked
You've got to get the fat off the back as
yeah,
well.
it's scraped and shaved. It's
The
kept.
whole process.
It's kept in water with oak bark. The oak bark releases tannins, and this then is absorbed into the skin. After that, it's then put in another mixture of tannin and urine, which is why tanneries smell so bad. And originally, in the East End of London was where the tanneries were, which is why it got this reputation. It really didn't do that. But the tanneries in Tudor times, well, any time, would stink of urine. Very useful stuff.
Of course, they would also use dog mess as well.
They use anything.
Yeah.
You'd find barrels where people could urinate. Later on, it was used in explosives.
I think if you go and rewatch the Tony Robinson series, of the worst jobs in history,
Yeah.
I think he played a part of a tanner.
Yeah.
It is a very mucky and disgusting job to do, really,
By
but
us,
also
yeah.
very fascinating.
By our standards, yeah, but I mean, if you're brought up like that, it's not so shocking. You probably prefer not to do it, but at the same time, it wouldn't have the shock value it does do today.
Yeah.
We live in very clean times.
We do. So we have bags like this. But then we get onto bigger bags, because you may have a lot of soft kit. You've got a couple of tunics and
Stuff
a
from the
cloak,
monasteries.
you know, and you think to yourself, well, what are you going to keep that in? Or perhaps your sword and your favourite axe.
Or
So perhaps
stuff-
you might choose a bag like this.
Or your spoils from the Leris monastery or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, they've got to go somewhere.
You know, this really just needs a strap to put on it so I can put it on my back. It's the job I've been meaning to for a long time. And this is what you call a round bottom bag. I generally call these nest bags. I think is that a more of a reenactor term?
Probably, I don't know, but you could use that as a pillow when you're sleeping as well.
And you know, I don't know if you can see inside of it. So they're all properly hand stitched inside. I actually like to go over and try to give them that extra strength.
Well, I mean, living as we do in Northworthy / Derby, we have a street named after the leather makers and workers, and it's Sadlergate.
Oh yes.
Or Sadlergata, and that's the street. Each street would tell you what they did. This is best illustrated in all places of York. But Sadlergata or Sadlergate, this is where the leather workers made their shoes, their bags, their straps, all kinds of things. Anything in leather, that's the place to go.
And every town would have had a street like that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, obviously the shops have gone now, but if you go down and look at the size of the shops, it corresponds exactly to the Viking spacing out of space.
Yeah, that does
It's
make sense.
It's the same in York as well, but both places well worth a visit.
So you got bags like this, and then you have smaller nest bags,
Yeah.
like this one. This is one of my favourite bags. Yet again, it has a round bottom, and then you've got to cut out your fabric to be at least 3.125 times pi the diameter. That's getting into math, we don't need to get into that far. Again, it's got a nice bead on the leather thonging, although that's probably a bit later, it's black thonging. And in this bag I keep my helmet.
Ooh.
So this
Has
is,
it got one in?
yeah, I
Yes.
do have a helmet, so this is my helmet bag.
With the fur lining.
Yeah, this is my fur lined helmet, a nice later piece. I'm not here to talk about helmets. But this is a great bag. You can also put your chainmail, your mail in there.
Yeah.
That will sit very nicely. And it also has a very nice turned over top, which is
Brings
finishes it
that
off
whole
nicely.
new meaning of a mail sack.
It does. You got your mail in your mail sack? Yes, I
And
have.
when you shout for it, it's a mail call.
Well, it makes you wonder where they got that term from, mail sack, you know.
I've no idea.
Then we go on to a bit bigger bag. Let's just plant them in there so we keep tidy.
I'll look after that silver
Yeah, I'm
chain.
sure you would. You've already seen that one.
Yeah.
So then you get another larger nest bag. It's another one which got kit in. In fact, it's got a pouch. This is another example of a pouch.
Well, it's got a nice design on it as well. It's sort of like a Celtic knot. And it's got a nice little toggle. Yeah,
1995 that was made.
by Ian,
Yeah.
whoever Ian is.
Hello Ian, if you're watching by random chance.
Yeah, good bit of leather
So
work.
that's been tooled, so you can see the front. And they do this by, they'll put the leather in hot water to soften it up. And then they'll have the tools, and in this case they stamp this, I would imagine, with a special tool to make this shape. It's very easy to do,
Yeah.
but just take a bit of practice. So there's another example of a pouch.
If you, one of the tools I used You know the disposable lighter?
Oh yes.
Once it's used, take out where the two wheels are,
Yeah.
and then use that across the wet leather, and you get two lines.
Yeah, that's a good idea,
parallel
that.
lines, yeah. Or a biro that's no longer got any ink in it.
In fact, I need to treat this pouch. So what I'm going to do to it is
Take the pictures.
No, yeah, well, I could take it out the pictures for a treat, but I didn't really have cinema in those days. So I'm going to put it in some hot water to soak it, soften it, and then I'm going to repack it with some paper to reform the shape. So when you next see it, hopefully it will be a bit like how it used to be.
Boxy.
So we've got those sort of bags, and this is another example of a large nest bag, which you'll keep, you know, your tunic maybe in your long house.
Yeah.
Now this is slightly the wrong colour because it's purple, so it's quite
Lovely.
rich. So what about
Well,
over there?
before we move on, there is a bag that you haven't mentioned,
Yes.
and that is the double sleeping bag that they
Oh
had
yes.
on long ships.
I was going to mention this. I've always wanted to make one actually.
Yeah, well, don't take it the wrong way, but you'll be using it on your own. They were actually designed
For
for
two people.
two people,
Oh, right.
because when you think about it, you're in the middle of the sea, it's cold, you need to get body heat, but it's an efficient way of, although personal, what they got up to is none of my business.
Of course, in the folk tale I told a few months back, Grim and the Mermaid of Grimsey Island, when they have the boy Thorir on the boat, he gets tired and they put him in a leather sack and they tie him up to the waist. And I know I read on the Sagas about these leather sleeping bags which they would just simply get into. It'll be like a large sack like this, but man-sized sack or lady-sized sack even,
Man
and
and
you'll
lady.
sleep in it. But I've not heard about the double sacks, so that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I think it was, I read it in one of the history books, that they found, this is up in Norway, Denmark area, that they used to have these double sleeping bags. You think you're rowing, you got your rowing partner, and night time comes, you're out on the field or wherever, a sleeping bag makes perfect sense.
Now, another type of pouch we not talked about is the rectangular pouch. I'm sure Eggle may have some. I have one here. This is my one full of my silver. You know.
So I want to replace this.
Yeah, well, we'll make one of them. So, how about the wicker basket? Another thing we never really talk about in the period is wicker baskets. And wicker baskets are actually very, very easy to get at car boots or antique fairs very cheaply.
I'm being nosy.
You know, it's just full of kit.
Oh, right.
But wicker baskets are a great way to store your kit. And this was very recently quite mouldy, so I've actually jet washed it, got rid of the mould. It's nice and clean now, and it's also a very, very interesting addition.
Well, you can use them for all sorts of things. I mean, am I right in saying that they use wicker for beehives?
They did use wicker for beehives, and additional beekeeping would have like a conical beehive at the bottom, and I think you could take the bottom off to get into the hive itself. So yeah, I think that's right.
This is very good because I think it's the ancient Egyptians used to have shields made of wicker, so you've got light thing to carry, but will take considerable amount of damage.
Well, you know, wicker's a very old tradition, and if we go, I believe there are some local wicker basket makers, so perhaps we can go and film there one day and do an interview to a wicker basket maker and talk about the tradition from, you know, pre-Viking Age. You know, it's a Bronze Age, but probably not before. And so let's talk about another thing we don't talk about is chests. Although unfortunately I don't have the big Viking siege chest here, as it's just too heavy. Yeah, we've got another pouch in here, so my stuff is full of stuff. There's another pouch, another favourite of mine.
That's nice.
So,
I like the car key.
yeah, that's modern. I was looking there. So this is basically a wooden chest I made, and it's made out of plywood. You don't actually see the plywood. So it's got a frame. I then got some relatively cheap leather. I didn't want to use for anything specifically nice.
You get an old coat from the charity shops.
You best to go and find some nice veg tan leather, a dull colour, and then you can very carefully surround a chest with it and have yourself a nice Viking chest. In fact, I've got about 3 of these so
Another
far.
one here, isn't there?
We'll talk about that one next. And I've also lined them with felt, because felt was a material often used, and I wanted to hide the inside because the inside wasn't authentic.
But also it's very labour intensive making felt.
Yeah, and I'm not quite finished this yet. I've got to put a front on that one. So there's a chest for you.
And the next one.
And we have another very, very fine chest, probably the best one I've made so far. And this is manufactured from a far better superior leather, as you can see.
Yeah.
And these are your typical sort of boxes they would have had. And if you had the money, you may have had a lock on it.
Yeah, looks like someone's forced that one.
Yeah, well, this has been forced open, and I'm not quite finished this one, and I've already lost one of my brass bits. And again, this is a lined box. This has a load of authentic items in, bracelets, and
the little cowrie shells, which are the loose change of the Viking Age.
well, yeah. I mean, would that be an authentic item?
Yeah.
Because I would have thought that would have been.
Where you have a coffee jar with pennies, halfpennies, twopence, they would have this as their loose change.
So you could fundamentally wear that,
Yeah,
and
that's
that would be
currency.
authentic.
Yeah, that's
No,
currency.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So another thing we don't talk about is little leather boxes like this, and these are very easy to make. The nails are just tacks for carpet tacks. It's just all the same leather for the hinges. You could have a very long hinge at the back, it would be stronger. So there's that. And then finally we've just got a carved box.
That's nice.
That came from John Watkins
Oh, right.
many years ago.
You don't want it back, do you, John?
No, yeah, I paid for it, you know. Although this is a kind of a modern box from either India or
Yeah.
China, some of the decorations on it are not quite right, but if you look at some of the decorations, like this front's
Yeah.
quite
The
nice,
interlace.
this is quite nice, the flower's not nice.
Well, it's just what it is.
I might carve that off. I think I might inscribe runes here. So you can also find these sort of boxes if you're picky. You can pick up the quite nice ones.
What you could do is carve that out and put horn.
Yeah, you can put horn there, and this is just full of spoons. Oh look, that old knife there, mine. Look, I found.
That's very authentic, that size and shape.
Yeah, but also it's an angle knife.
Yeah.
Look, because I didn't want a knife which was straight when I made this one.
Well, it's a tool.
I wanted a knife which I could go along the bark, shave off, but do it at an angle rather than doing it at a flat edge.
But you see what I mean? It's more a tool than a weapon.
This is like a toolbox. It's got various knives in there. So
Black and Decker drill.
another eating knife. I've got to make scabbards for them. It's got a kind of a modern awl I use
They still have
craft work.
They still have
So that's a short discussion on bags and the kind of things they kept things in. We take bags for granted every day. I mean, most people have a man bag. Have you got a man bag?
I've got one.
See,
Yeah.
Eggle has a man bag.
Put your computer in it.
I mean, ladies have handbags, of course, and you get everything in them. So, you
The
know,
contents of which are a mystery to all
I'm
female
total mystery. So we do hope you've enjoyed this chat on pouches and bags and chests, and you'll see us in more videos. And don't forget to go and check out the playlist of historical content we've done. Thank you very much. It's goodbye from me, Braggy.
Bye from me, Egil. Stay
Goodbye.
groovy. Bye.
Was hail.